So this is August 18th, Ranking of Video Game Movies. I'll be leading this one today. I'm Kudrow with my fellow co-hosts Quinn
Hey
and
guys.
Colton.
Hey.
So to jump into it, this movie kind of starts out in medias res. You're starting. You see the very first scene is Nathan Drake, played by Tom Holland. Uh, Kind of starting off, he wakes up and he's on this. His foot strapped to this cargo that's tied to a plane that's floating through the air, and then you see him trying to go back onto the plane, and then that ends up cutting into when his brother. So his basically we're going back in the past like 12 years or something like that. Nathan and his brother are trying to steal a map. They end up getting caught. Because this has been multiple offenses at this point, Sam ends up leaving the orphanage rather than go to jail. But before he goes, he ends up leaving his ring with Nathan. It's kind of this assurance, hey, I'm gonna come back for you one day. And then we do yet another time skip. Here we see Tom. Here we see Nathan. He's more to the present day. He's You see him working as a bartender, and it seems like he's one of the main things that he's doing here is showing off, and particularly the wealthy patrons as he pickpockets them. But here is where he meets Sully, played by Mark Wahlberg, a treasure hunter who kind of who kind of gets involved with Nathan because Sully was working with his brother. And Sully spent a lot of time talking about Nathan, so Sully wants to work with Nathan on a new adventure to try to get the treasure that they were going after. So, in order to do that, after call it a bit of a rocky start to their relationship, Nathan ends up working with Sully because he wants to find Sam. That's his main motivation. So the very first thing they have to do is they got to steal a couple of keys. They end up going to an auction to steal them, which one of the things that we get introduced here is that there's another, because there always is in these types of movies, there's another interested party in that treasure, and this one establishes the Moncada. Am I pronouncing that right? Moncada family?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
The Moncada family, he starts talking. Oh, I forget the character's name.
The villain character?
Yeah, Santiago. That's right. So Santiago Montago, this very wealthy family, he's interested in buying the cross because, as some of the history that's discussed in the movie was that the treasure that they're looking for was actually gotten by Ferdinand Magellan's crew and then hidden away from him, which the Moncada family apparently funded that expedition specifically for that treasure, which Magellan decided to hide from them. So, the Moncada family seemingly has spent all these hundreds of years kind of bitter about that and wanting to find it again. And apparently, in order to do that, they need to find 2 keys in order to get to the treasure, one of which is being sold at this auction that they're currently at. And working with the Moncada family is this treasure hunter named Braddock, who Sully has a bit of a history with, that we can tell is very rocky by their first interaction because it's, they're seemingly at odds with one another. So, basically, after some neat little action sequences where Nathan Drake is fighting this couple henchmen, one with a very thick Scottish accent, ends up stealing the key to the auction, and then they have to travel. And then Nathan Drake and Sully end up traveling to Barcelona to get the other key from Sully's former partner, a woman named Chloe. And then she ends up stealing the first cross from them. You have this one of Colton's favorite things, chase sequences.
So many chase sequences. Oh my gosh.
Like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're running through the city streets. You're running along rooftops into traffic, all that fun stuff that we know Colton adores. Oh, well, let's see here. Basically, but basically, after Chloe, after Tom, God damn it, I keep wanting to call him by the actor's name. After Drake talks to Chloe, it's like she realizes that even if she has the keys, she doesn't know where the treasure is. So she ends up agreeing to work with Sully and Nate in order to find the gold. So then they start doing like all this investigative work. They have to go into this cathedral. They end up doing like a bunch of stuff like going through like these underground catacombs. You have this really interesting fight scene in the middle of a Papa John's. Some very obvious and more blatant product placement that I've ever seen.
That's a pretty funny line. He comes in, I'm in the middle of a Papa John's.
Yeah.
I think it was for comedic effect.
Yeah.
Though that is actually one thing I will compliment the movie on, though. It's like all these winding passageways and stuff all end up leading into modern landmarks, which does actually make sense after a few hundred years. So
yeah, I suppose you're not wrong.
Right. It's like Magellan and his men. They knew it was going to still be there, but it was just in a Papa John's.
Like thinking about Papa John's made me angry because it's not very good pizza, but the idea was funny.
Right.
We'll have to maybe one day we'll have to have a ranking of pizza chains. So basically, afterwards they end up finding the key. They get the keys to where they need to go in this underground chamber. They find a bunch of pots, and inside the pots they don't find the gold. They find a map, which is going to lead to the location of where the gold actually is. But before and Chloe betrays Nathan and Sully, surprising no one, I'm sure. Basically, she gives Nathan a some ominous advice about how you really shouldn't trust Sully. He knows more than he's letting on before knocking him out. And then the very next scene, Nathan and Sully are talking to realize, and then Sully confesses that his brother died because he left him to die, effectively, after he got shot on the job, which causes quite a bit of friction between those two. But they still end up working together again. They end up following. Chloe ends up joining forces with Braddock and Moncada. Then the map is going to go to an island in the Philippines. So Nathan and Sully end up stowing away onto a plane, eventually taking us to where the movie began at. And then in a whole scene, effectively the whole Moncada family thing ends up amounting to nothing because, earlier in the film, Santiago ended up killing his father to make sure the family fortune was there. And then Braddock ends up killing Santiago because she doesn't want hit because she wants the treasure for herself. So, and then all of that, and then Braddock betrays Chloe, and then that all ends up leading to this ridiculous fight scene on the plane, which, and let's be honest, it is ridiculous.
A lot of the fight scenes are ridiculous.
I suppose, to be fair, that's kind of this movie's charm.
Yeah, it is probably the best part of the movie.
Well, yeah, I feel like trying to describe this fight scene is not going to do it justice. Well, when you're looking at all the cargo spilling out of the plane, the fighting on top of floating cargo, and then all of that landing into the ocean, the free falling. Yeah, I'm not even going to try. Needless to say, basically after the plane fight, it's Chloe and Nathan washing up onto an island of the Philippines, conveniently right where they need to be, effectively. You end up with the Nolan North cameo, who voices Nathan Drake in the games.
Okay, that's who it is. I didn't know that. I knew that was someone important. I just forgot to follow up and check who he was.
Yeah, I didn't know who it was either. That's specifically why I followed up with that. I was like, I'm sure that's a joke that's going over my head. So, but yeah, so then a plot point that I forgot to describe at the beginning of the movie. Sam had been sending Nathan postcards for a number of years after he left the orphanage, and so they kind of come back to prominence now because Nathan starts investigating these cards and ends up finding a hidden message in them that helps him by using the note cards, the map, as well as the two keys. Because they can kind of be used. They can kind of be used to like point to a specific treasure on the map by like taking out like two of the needles, sticking them on the map at certain points, and then they kind of point to the actual location of the treasure. But before he does this, because he's with Chloe, he ends up misleading Chloe by giving her a fake set of coordinates, which causes her to effectively just be out of the rest of the movie. And then Nathan goes off to find the treasure, which he does find it first, but Sully and Braddock both follow him. And then from there, you have this very, very even more grandiose and ridiculous fight atop helicopters and 500-year-old ships. And then at the pinnacle of the movie, effectively, Sully has his treasure, but he sacrifices it to save Nathan. Braddock ends up having one of the ships crash down on her head, killing her, and then the Philippine government ends up basically taking control of the treasure. So no one gets the treasure out of any of the cast that we're following,
except for the bag that. Except for the pockets that he stuffed.
Look at this stuff I got for you.
Stuffed his pockets. Yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
And also where he gives up the gold to save him at the end.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was. I should have made that. Maybe I should have made that a little bit clearer. But yeah,
right. Big character development for Sully.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say about this film? The Indiana Jones of Ocean's 11 movies. A soap opera of betrayals?
I would say it's sort of refreshing, not gonna lie.
What?
Really?
Think of the soap opera names though, like Drakes of Our Lives, the Tomb Raiders and the Beautiful.
Maybe it was just because it's actually a newer movie that we're watching this time. Honestly, but it wasn't anything special, but it was just like, okay, I know what I'm gonna get. This is what I got. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right. Like, Tom Holland. You know, like what he's gonna say. You know, like his action sequences. Like his fighting sequences are like, oh, that, like they're kind of cool. Like the moves he was doing is like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then Mark Wahlberg's humor, you're like, oh, yep, that's Mark Wahlberg.
But I don't disagree with you in that. I think the fight scene choreography, and some of the comedy stuff is the best part of this movie. I, however, don't feel like that saves it from the just shallow, like children's cartoon level of plotline emotion that we see through the rest of the movie. Like just endless chase scenes, the worst parts of Indiana Jones with better action scenes. Right. I don't know. I felt like there were so many like the fight scene was cool, and then they'd have to like stop and do some weird one-liner that like I'm just like, what? Like, or
yeah.
But oh man,
that's literally every action movie though. I mean, how many of them do like one-liners, like either before or after?
Yeah, right. I feel like this one really indulged in that though. Like it was like the whole movie was just one-liners everywhere. And it's like I just felt like it was predictable in a way. And like the cool stuff I think was like the chase scenes and like the visual aspects of it looked kind of cool. But then you have the stuff where they have like how many, like the plane fight scene where they're falling out of the plane, and like how many times did people bash into solid objects at high velocities and had no disorientation effects at all? Or like when they smash into the water on top of the crate. I don't know. In like the part where he picks up the gun holster thing, what's that called? Where it goes around his shoulders?
I think it's just a shoulder holster. I think.
Yeah,
The
I
shoulder.
think you literally said it with like the holster. I think
Yeah, the shoulder holster scene, right? Like that scene. Okay, so when he picks up the shoulder holster, that's like Nathan Drake in the first Uncharted, right? Like that's like what that scene was, where he becomes like that character. Like I feel like that.
Right.
Completing the signature look.
I thought that was a really cool way to do that. I thought it actually worked pretty well. It wasn't like forced. It was kind of like a call out to this thing, but it wasn't like bashing you in the face with it. Like, we're going to deliberately word this out for you so you understand what we're saying.
Right. It's giving me Fast and Furious vibes. Not gonna lie.
But it was like
films.
Fast and the Furious, but the opposite of family. Like Fast and the Furious, if you
Right.
didn't have family, because everybody betrays everybody.
Right,
I think towards the end, I tired of the constant backstabbing over and over again. It's kind of like, oh, I wonder if this person's going to betray the other person. And it's like they kept saying like, oh, this person's going to betray you, don't trust him. This person's going to betray you, don't trust him. And that was the whole thing.
And then the irony is like Sully is kind of like the one person who didn't betray Nathan.
Yeah,
other than the fact that he was just keeping secrets from him.
Right. Well, by the time at the end where he like throws the bag and saves him, we're like, okay, great. It's all culminated to you not letting him die at the end with the boat.
I don't know. Sully's character, like, how can you be so stupid but so like smart? I don't know. Like, I understand like Drake is supposed to be the one that's like figuring everything out or whatever, but he literally had to do all of the like puzzle solving and treasure hunting and everything. And it just seemed like, you know, they tried to make Sully out to be like some like really cool like spy treasure hunter guy, like slick, like he stole the chain out of his pocket in their first meeting, and like he was like, oh, I knew you'd call me, and like they like try to like gas him up as like this like smooth like spy guy, and then he can't. I don't know. He just was. Yeah. And maybe it's Mark Wahlberg's like acting like style, or I don't know.
Different roles, right? It's like sometimes he's this ace theft, and then other times he's like this like goon who can't figure out what the hell's going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, what else? What did you guys like about this? Like, what other things? What aspects kind of are you looking back and saying, "Oh, that was"?
Because it seems like postcards. I thought the postcards were good. You know, they kind of pulled that all the way through, through the movie. I thought the puzzle solving was a little shallow, but I think, like I said, the postcards kind of, you know, finished it because I didn't really think about it. And then when he pulled them out, I'm like, oh yeah, like use the flame to check where, you know, check one of the postcards for the secret message. I thought that was really, really nice touch. And then, like you said, the holster thing to kind of put forth Nathan Drake as Nathan Drake, you know, according to the video games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the constant like betrayals was just tiresome. I did like how Nathan finally, you know, learned his lessons and put the fake coordinates down for Chloe before, you know, she took them and left. I thought that was a nice touch just to show him that, you know, he's actually learning.
Was that our character development for the movie?
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was a decent movie. I think going in, you kind of, you know, got what you expected, especially for this day and age. So,
yeah, Kudrow, what's your?
I mean, I kind of have to agree. I mean, like, I definitely did like the flame thing where it's like, you know, because you see him in the orphanage, like, you know, Sam and Nathan are communicating through hidden messages with the fire. exposing that hidden ink, and then that gets the call back with the secret messages with the postcards. It gets that payoff. I did like that. The action sequences are utterly ridiculous, but I can say that I enjoyed they definitely embraced how over the top they were, and I can I can appreciate that.
I can't appreciate. I can't believe you guys are giving this movie such a pass just for being. It's what we expected.
No, well, I feel like the thing is
giving it
like
a pass.
This is this movie is a popcorn flick from start to finish. It is a perfectly average globe-trotting action adventure film with a bunch of thieves constantly stabbing each other in the back. This isn't a story. This isn't a story that's like new to anyone. It's like I'm sure there's like multiples of this, like the Tomb Raider movies. I just even watched one on Netflix earlier this year. What was it, like Red Notice or something like that, with The Rock and
I didn't see that.
Right.
With The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. So
yeah,
it's just again, like there's nothing new about this movie. It is cliche to its core, but but that's really but I feel like that's the worst thing I can say about it is it's cliche.
I feel like the characters are pretty boring. It becomes at some point in the movie, I don't know if it's halfway, it becomes just a never ending chase scene, which I find really I found it grating to watch the movie outside of the action scenes.
Do you have a different definition of chase scene than I do? Because like I don't see where like never ending chase scene is.
They like stop to sleep for a night, and then one of them backstab the other one, and they're off on a chase again. Like it's just like a go here, go here, go here, go here, and it's like have a conversation here, chase somebody, go here, have a conversation here, and it's kind of like this is like everything I hate about like video game and comic book movies is like the kind of shit this movie does where it's like it's not even going for anything. It's like let's just make a boring fucking movie where they steal an object and then let's put some outlandish stuff in there. Like what about this old pirate ship? They could probably lift that with a helicopter. Like what the hell is lifting that thing with a helicopter? Just within like 10 minutes, they had that thing hooked up to the helicopter, pulled it the fuck out of there, and like this would work. Like that would not work. It's like these things all just build on me as I'm watching, and by the end, I'm like, this is a fucking joke. Like,
well, no, I mean, like, okay, if I were to break my suspension of disbelief, like, I'm not even sure, like, because what was it? Ferdinand Magellan's was like 1400s, 1500s. This is taking place in modern day.
Yeah.
So 500 years of a wooden ship being exposed to the elements, that there probably wouldn't even be a ship there.
Right. Okay. So
much less like even if there was, like, in no way would you be able to fly it out of there like that. Absolutely not.
And like I guess suspension of disbelief, fine. Suspension of disbelief is the Force and people controlling shit with the Force. Where it breaks is when Princess Leia goes out into space and just doesn't have oxygen out in space and she just lives because of the Force. This is that Princess Leia level of like suspension of disbelief where I'm like, I'm out. This is a joke. That's what I feel about this movie. And I feel like a lot of them kind of go into this and people seem to like it. I don't know. But when I watch it, I'm like, well, it's like they're not even trying to make like a good story. That's not even the goal of it. It's just like put a lot of cool and the action scenes are cool. But then the whole story of the movie, I'm like, really? Like this is where we're at right now?
Yeah, but it's made to make money, right?
Right, yeah, and I'm here to watch it and say how good it is.
But like what you're saying, it's a popcorn flick. Like when did you watch the post credit scene?
Yep.
Oh yeah, with the postcard. Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah. Does that make you want to watch like Uncharted 2?
No.
Right. I don't think like I think they just slapped it on there to to go with the trend, or like, you know, like it's just a movie.
I talk shit a lot about like the Avengers movies and that stuff for being like shallow and kind of cheesy, and I feel like this is worse. Like those, to me, those are what I would call a popcorn flick. Like I can sit through the Avengers and not feel it being like grating. This movie is like grating. I'm like, I don't want to. I wanted to stop. I'm like, I hate that I have to watch the rest of this movie.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a whole different discussion, I think. Because like, was it one of like the Avengers movies that comes to mind is I think it's Iron Man 2.
Okay.
Which was like, I think, one of the best Avengers movies, where he maybe I'm thinking of the wrong one.
That's the one where he fights the guy with the whips. I don't know his comic book name.
I was about to say, like, Iron Man 2 is one of the best. We gotta have a conversation about that.
Maybe I'm thinking of the original then. Anyway,
Iron Man,
I don't want to get too far out of
sure
out of here, but yeah, okay. I don't know. Never mind. Scratch that. Clear that from the record.
Cut that.
Right. I don't know. I think that's like, it's a treasure hunting film. Like, you're gonna go, you know, it's gonna be pretty linear. Yeah. I don't know how you can do anything else with a treasure hunting movie.
It's, as I said, it's a cliche.
To me, I mean, do you guys feel like a lot of like Ocean's 11 vibes towards the beginning, and then like a lot of Indiana? I feel like I felt a lot of Ocean's 11 vibes through the first half of the movie, and I felt a lot of Indiana Jones through the second half. Really felt a lot of Indiana Jones.
I've never seen Ocean's 11.
Me either.
Oh my gosh, guys. Anyways, to me, this felt like he's like getting the crew together, like finding the people and like doing this heist. And it very much felt like Ocean's 11. We'll have to watch it sometime. But I think that's probably all the good things I have to say about this movie. What else you guys got? Anything else? Are we ready to rank this thing?
I don't know.
I'll watch it.
If they do make a sequel, I'll probably watch it. But
alrighty, let's rank this movie. Let me pull up our list here. Sorry, I didn't have my list up before.
I will say, Mark Wahlberg's humor did, like, in the beginning, it was kind of nice, but.
Oh, the one where he talks about, like, I don't know, the phone apps thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, like, as it went further and further in the movie, I'm like, all right, that's enough of you, Mark.
It's enough of you, Marky Mark.
It's Mark Wahlberg it's Mark Wahlberg playing Mark Wahlberg. It kind of feels, and that's the one thing too, is like Nathan Drake just feels like Spider-Man in a different skin.
I guess before we rank it, we can give our individual rankings.
Right.
So my ranking for this movie is an E. I debated, like, does it deserve a D-? And then I remembered we don't have minuses because we're a positive podcast, and I put it in the E tier. So it's an E for me personally.
That's why we don't have minuses?
Yeah, it's a positive podcast.
Oh my God.
So it's worse than Final Fantasy for you?
No, if I gave Final Fantasy an F. This is
a little bit better.
I debated if it deserved a D because I did want to give it some credit for the action scenes, but just overall, I felt it to be. I could see the argument for a D, but I just think personally it's an E for me. Cujo, already got like an A or something?
No, absolutely not. Matter of fact, it's an S+.
Get out of here.
No, as I said, like this, I mean, this is a cliche average movie. And I feel like I'm just going to give it an average rank of a C. It's a popcorn flick through and through. Watch it once and then forget about it tomorrow.
A burned popcorn flick.
But yeah, I think it's right around a C.
I gotcha. All right. Quinn, where are you at?
I'm in agreement with Kudrow. I'm gonna put it at a C.
Oh my gosh.
It's definitely better than Final Fantasy. That's
100% better than Final Fantasy. That's why it's not an F. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go to the ranking now. So our only other ranked one so far is Final Fantasy Spirits Within, which we decided on an E because somebody rated it above an F.
And you know what? I stand by that.
I ranked it a D.
All right, so we've got Uncharted here. You guys both gave it a C. I gave it an E. I mean, are you guys agreeable to a D, or do you feel strongly this should be in the C tier? Yeah.
When we're looking at which we can revise, obviously, but when we're looking at video game movies, I think
a lot of them are bad.
When you look at it, you gotta curve to the top.
All right, Kudrow, you feeling strongly this should be in the C tier for now?
I'm certainly. I agree. Your opinion should be ignored, Colton. The C is clearly the average.
All right. It sounds like. All right, fine. We'll leave it in the C. All right. Uncharted then is a C in our ranking of video game movies.